Hello everyone. Welcome to my YNR 24 spoilers. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Tell Kyle about Audra, Sienna, on the LA and Young and the Restless. With each episode, the plot becomes increasingly enigmatic. Kyle is currently looking for information after he saw Holden and Sienna having what appeared to be a furious confrontation. He wants to shield Claire from Holden in every way he can because he has never trusted him. In an attempt to get information on Holden and Audra, Kyle headed to Sienna's club. She remained silent till the very conclusion of the show. What transpired on The Young and the Restless on Friday? On The Young and the Restless, Mitch, Sienna's spouse, has been a mysterious man. In an attempt to learn more about Holden, Kyle visited Sienna's Tamara Braun nightclub, the Shadow Room, on Friday's episode of The Young and the Restless. He came into the club to find Sienna leaving a voicemail for her husband, Mitch, stating that he was due to come home 2 days ago and that this was the third time she had phoned him. She begged him to call her back because something significant had happened that he wanted to know about. We are aware that she is talking about Noah's vehicle accident, which just so happens to have occurred a day or two ago. Was he somehow involved? Did Kyle hear Sienna's phone conversation with Mitch, too? Let's hope he recalls the message if he did. Perhaps we will see a flashback of that scene next week, especially if Nick or another member of Noah's family asks Kyle what the message was. Kyle made an effort to learn more about Holden and Audra. Kyle made a fruitless attempt to learn more about Holden on The Young and the Restless. Kyle didn't hear much about Holden from Sienna. If it's any consolation, Holden is eventually going to get bored with Claire and move on, because that man is definitely not the relationship kind, was the sole delicious piece of information she shared with him. Kyle moved on to someone else he wanted information about, Audra, after determining that Sienna knew more about Holden than she was prepared to acknowledge. Since we still don't know what nefarious secret Audra and Holden are harboring, it seems like everything on The Young and the Restless keeps coming back to her. We are aware that Sienna dislikes Audra. She so tried to cut Kyle off as soon as he mentioned her name, claiming she was busy and didn't want to discuss Holden or Audra. After Mitch called back, why did Sienna decide to change her mind? Sienna was called back by Mitch on The Young and the Restless. Sienna abruptly changed her mind when Mitch called her back a minute later. What information is she going to give Kyle? She said, "I'll think about giving you something you can work with. Come back later tonight." Why didn't she inform him before to Mitch's call? Does she think Mitch will let her know he'll be returning home that evening so he can speak with Kyle directly? It seems that Mitch is also acquainted with Audra. Is he aware of the secret between Holden and Audra? Would he be prepared to share it with a total stranger if he did? We cannot conceive of it. It seems like Mitch is a potentially dodgy individual who will only provide the information to Kyle if Kyle reciprocates. Is that cash or is it something else, perhaps something evil? Is Kyle taking on too much? We won't know till the next week. Kane Ashby might be blamed by Nina Webster for Chance's demise. Trisha Cast, a Daytime Emmy winner, will reprise her role as Nina Webster for Cricket and Danny's Wedding on The Young and the Restless, as was previously revealed. Laura Lee Bell, who portrays Cricket and is the bride herself, is now giving fans a little peek at what to expect when Cast returns to the screen. Cast image from The Young and the Restless. Cast posted a picture of the two friends and longtime co-stars in the YNR makeup room, and Bell added, "Next month, everyone will see how amazing you are in the wedding episodes. It feels like home when you are here. You ladies red heart. Both of you appear 16. Raved Tamara. Added yay. The trio got back together." Valerie Pettiford wrote, "Everything wrapped gift. Red heart, welcome home." If the reception is placed at the Genoa City Athletic Club, Nina might encounter into the club's new owner there. So does Bell's statement that Cast is amazing in the wedding episode suggest we'll finally get to witness Cast's Nina lash out at Kane for his unintentional role in her son Chance's death? Unfortunately, Chance's funeral was off-screen, so we only heard about the destruction, But we did get to see some of Jill's reaction when Walton appeared on screen later and played some of Jill's grief. Jack blasted that Nina and Jill Jess Walton, Chance's grandmother, would be devastated after Chance died while attempting to save Kane's life. Ex-Chance. On The Young and the Restless. Casting call. Cast is one of the most admired actresses in Y&R and daytime, and her portrayal of a girl from the wrong side of the tracks, Nina, won over viewers despite her schemes. On The Young and the Restless, Nina let villain David Kimball into her life. When she learned that he had plotted to murder her for the millions she inherited after Philip III died, Nina shot David several times. This storyline earned Cast a 1992 Daytime Emmy. She was put on trial for his attempted murder and was found guilty at first. Her astute lawyer, John Silva, noticed a juror who was very upset about the verdict and asked the judge to poll the jury, which required them to declare that it was their verdict. One juror claimed that she felt pressured to vote guilty, but she didn't feel that way. The court told the jurors to return to the room and re-examine the case, and when they did so a second time, Nina was found not guilty. It would be a fantastic wedding present for the Y&R audience if Nina were to criticize Kane for his part in Chance's demise. 1. The storm that is building in the Shadow Room. The Shadow Room, a dimly lit nightclub that has become the focal point of intrigue in the Los Angeles storyline of The Young and the Restless, was the scene of tension on Friday's episode from the moment Kyle walked in, looking around the packed bar for Sienna. He wasn't there to drink or socialize, but to find answers, and every look and every whisper he heard carried the weight of secrets he desperately needed to discover. This is the third time I've called, Mitch. You were supposed to be home 2 days ago. Something's happened, something important, and you need to call me back, Sienna said, trembling slightly as she stood behind the bar, leaving a voicemail for her husband, Mitch, whose absence had lasted for days. Sienna was distracted, wearing a deep crimson dress that reflected both her confidence and danger. Though Sienna didn't specify the incident, the audience knew she was referring to Noah's car crash, a mysterious accident that had rocked everyone close to the Newman family. The timing of Mitch's disappearance, which coincided perfectly with the crash, wasn't just strange, it was damning. Kyle, who was only a few steps away, was silently taking in everything that was said. The camera lingered on Kyle's face as it became clear that Mitch's involvement in Noah's accident may lead to a wealth of information, not only concerning Sienna's marriage, but also about Holden, Audra, and their dubious partnership. 2. The ghosts of deception and Kyle's suspicions. Kyle Abbott has always been a man who follows his gut, and in recent times those gut feelings have been telling him that Holden is not who he seems to be. Kyle had seen enough of Holden's type to know that beneath the dapper exterior was a man capable of anything, and his arrival in Los Angeles had been suspicious from the beginning. Holden was charming, manipulative, and magnetic, and he was the kind of man who could easily bend others to his will, especially women like Claire, who was still emotionally fragile. However, Audra was something he hadn't anticipated. From Genoa City to LA, Audra Charles had her own network of manipulators. Her connections with influential men, her survival skills, and her unrelenting ambition made her dangerous and unpredictable. Now, rumors were circulating that Audra and Holden had more in common than their work history, that they were linked by a secret that could end lives. Kyle thought Sienna had the proof he needed. 3. The seeds of fear and Sienna's reluctance. Kyle leaned nonchalantly against the counter, ordered a drink without touching it, and approached Sienna with a controlled tone and disarming charm. He said, "I just need a little information about Holden and Audra." Sienna's face stiffened the moment Audra's name was spoken, and the self-assured businesswoman backed off behind a wall of caution, her voice cold and clipped. She answered, "I don't talk about people who bring trouble to my door, and I'm busy, Kyle." However, Kyle noticed a glimmer of something. Fear. Holden had connections, influence, and a violent streak, and Audra was unpredictable enough to ruin anyone who stood in her way. Sienna wasn't just protecting herself. She was afraid of what would happen if she spoke. The enigma was only heightened by Sienna's first silence, What power did Audra have over her? And why did she appear to be so terrified of her? 4. Mitch's call, the moment of change. Sienna's phone rang as Kyle was about to leave. Mitch's name appeared on the screen, and her whole attitude changed. Her shoulders tensed. Her eyes flew to the door as if he were about to arrive, and she answered the phone in a low, frantic voice. Sienna's guarded face gave way to a calculated calm as the call came to a close, and she turned back to Kyle. In a calm but implied voice, she added, "Come back later tonight, and I'll think about giving you something you can work with." It was a transaction, not a promise. Mitch's call couldn't have come at a random moment. His words, which the audience didn't hear, obviously alter her thoughts. Maybe he had verified something about Holden and Audra, or maybe he had granted her permission to speak, or, more intriguingly, maybe he had warned her not to, which only strengthened her resolve to disobey him. Kyle felt for the first time that Sienna was entangled in the same web as him, but that she might be nearer the spider. 5. Mitch's mysteries. Even though Mitch doesn't spend much time on screen, his name has remained prominent. Sienna's spouse has been a spectral presence, mentioned in passing, heard on voicemail, but never seen. Yet his absence has taken on a life of its own. The program has alluded to Mitch's relationships with Holden, Audra, and perhaps even Noah. There are rumors that Mitch was once employed in financial circles associated with Newman Enterprises, which provided him with access to influential people and even more influential secrets. Mitch's motivations would be crucial if he had any direct or indirect involvement in Noah's disaster. Was he carrying out orders? Was there a cover-up gone awry? Or was Noah just a byproduct of a bigger plot? Additionally, Sienna's silence might be an act of cooperation or protection if she suspected her husband of being guilty. 6. What Sienna may tell Kyle about her secret. Sienna knew things that might ruin lives, so when she told Kyle to come back later, she wasn't just stalling. She was considering her alternatives. What could she tell him then? There are a number of options. Holden's manipulation of Audra. Using personal information from their previous interactions, Sienna may disclose that Holden and Audra collaborate to blackmail influential people in Los Angeles. The betrayal of Audra. She may reveal that Audra has been providing Holden with information on Newman Media, possibly even plotting a takeover. Mitch's involvement. Most intriguingly, Sienna might disclose that Audra used both men to hide her tracks, and that Mitch was lured into Holden's plans, perhaps as a financier or fixer. Sienna is aware that once she speaks, she becomes a target. Therefore, whatever truth she carries, it is obvious that it will not come without a cost. 7. Kyle's predicament, justice or peril. Kyle's quest for the truth has already put him in jeopardy. By getting involved in Holden's affairs, he's jeopardizing not just his own safety, but also the reputation of his family and his connection with Claire. Although Kyle realizes that information this volatile might ruin lives, including his own, he still believes that Sienna holds the secret to exposing Holden. Nevertheless, the idea of Claire being duped by a monster like Holden strengthens his resolve. He has witnessed the damage that lying can do to people, has experienced the consequences of secrets, and is willing to risk everything to keep Claire safe. But, like a warning, Sienna's enigmatic promise, "I'll think about giving you something you can work with," clings to his memory. 8. The ripple effect. The shockwaves affect Genoa City. Genoa City is far from peaceful as the drama plays out in Los Angeles. An impending wedding of Cricket and Danny is sure to reopen old wounds. With Kane Ashby in particular, Nina Webster's return promises an emotional reckoning. Chance's death still looms large, and Nina's fiery temperament means she won't hold back when she confronts the man who was indirectly responsible for her son's murder. For long-standing fans, this is a payout years in the making, an opportunity to witness a mother's sadness transform to rage. Laura Lee Bell's hint that Trisha Cast will be amazing in the wedding episode suggests that Nina's grief will eventually boil over. The authors appear to be tying the plots of Genoa City and Los Angeles together in typical Young and the Restless manner. Could Kane's guilt somehow be connected to Holden and Audra's schemes? Could Mitch's enigmatic financial transactions have their origins in the corporate underworld of Genoa City? 9. Similarities between the narratives. Its intricate analogies are what make the present Y&R storyline so brilliant. Secrets and deceit. Both women are plagued by men who have lied to them, and just as Sienna conceals the truth about Mitch and Holden, Nina conceals her grief over Chance's passing. Moral crossroads. Nina and Kyle are both on the verge of justice. One is looking for closure, while the other is seeking the truth. Unseen puppeteers. Mitch, Holden, and Audra are examples of unseen entities that control events from the background in both tales. Despite its two locations, the show feels cohesive because of this duality. Every revelation in Los Angeles has an emotional resonance in Genoa City. 10. The upcoming conflict. Sienna might finally show her hand if Kyle returns to the Shadow Room. But how much will she risk? Next week's teaser promises dramatic confrontations. Sienna is expected to provide Kyle a piece of the puzzle, possibly a tip that links Holden and Audra to financial crimes or blackmail, and she will make it obvious that pursuing the matter further could result in their deaths. Mitch's unexpected return, meanwhile, can cause trouble. If he shows up at the club the night Kyle comes back, tensions might explode into violence or confession. Additionally, Nina's rage may serve as the emotional high point back in Genoa City, with her encounter with Kane acting as a thematic mirror to Sienna's reconciliation with Mitch. 11. Themes of redemption, betrayal, and power. Fundamentally, this plotline examines the ageless Y&R concepts of who controls the truth and who is destroyed by it is the question of power. Betrayal, the betrayals that affect every relationship, both personally and professionally. Redemption, if, after being engulfed by deceit, characters like Sienna, Kyle, and Nina are able to find peace. After years of being dominated by guys like Mitch, Sienna's possible confession to Kyle is about regaining her autonomy, not simply about exposing Holden and Audra. Kyle's search for the truth is also restorative. After previous failures in business and love, this is his opportunity to make amends, not for himself, but for someone he loves. 12. The future. Upcoming events. Fans are speculating about a number of things, including if Sienna will live after disclosing what she knows, whether Mitch's true identity will be connected to Jabot or Newman Enterprises, and whether Audra's secret would be so devastating that it will rock both cities. It's not impossible to envision a startling turn of events. Maybe Mitch staged his disappearance to avoid the consequences of a botched deal, or maybe Audra and Mitch were conspiring all along and using Holden as a pawn. Regardless of the reality, one thing is certain. The Young and the Restless is causing a domino effect that may reshape its power structure for years to come. 13. Conclusion. The decision made by Sienna. The tension will be excruciating when Kyle returns to the Shadow Room that evening. Every word and every glance will be weighed down by unspoken realities. Will Sienna discover too late that keeping quiet could have saved her life, or will she eventually tell him all she knows about Audra? Secrets are money in soap operas, and the most valuable secret of all is currently in Sienna's possession.